Ju-ri was tired. After a full day of chasing 25-year-olds around her kindergarten classroom, all she wanted was a hot shower and sleep. Outside her apartment window, rain fell hard on Seoul's busy streets. The clock on her wall showed 11:30 p.m. She had just settled on her couch with a cup of tea when a strange light flashed across her living room wall. At first, she thought it was car headlights, but the blue-green glow was not like any car she had seen before. Then came 3 quick knocks at her door. Ju-ri frowned. No one visited this late. She put down her tea and walked to the door. Through the peephole, she saw nothing but darkness. Strange. The hallway lights should have been on. "Who is there?" she called. "Ju-ri. Please, it's me." The voice was low and raspy, but she knew it right away. "Taeho." She quickly unlocked the door. The tall, blue-skinned figure stumbled into her apartment. Taeho looked nothing like he had 5 years ago when they first met. His smooth blue skin was now pale and covered with cuts. Dark purple liquid, his blood, stained his silver clothing. "What happened to you?" Ju-ri gasped, helping him to her couch. Taeho coughed, more purple blood coming from his mouth. "I don't have much time, old friend." "Let me call for help," Ju-ri said, reaching for her phone. "No." Taeho grabbed her wrist with surprising strength. "No Earth doctors. They can't help me. And no calls. They might be listening." Who did this to you?" Taeho shook his head. His 4-fingered hand reached into a pocket and pulled out a metal ball the size of an apple. Its surface glowed with swirling patterns of light. "Take this," he said. "Keep it safe." Ju-ri took the ball. It was warm and seemed to pulse slightly, like a heartbeat. "What is it?" "Everything you need to know." Taeho's breath was coming faster now. "And one more thing." He reached into another pocket and pulled out what looked like a small crystal disc. "This will get you to the ship. You must protect the child. Ju-ri. Promise me." "Child? What child?" "Taeho, you're not making sense." Worry filled Ju-ri's voice. The blue alien had spent only 3 months on Earth 5 years ago, studying human culture. They had become friends during his stay, but he had never mentioned any children. "Promise me," Taeho repeated, his golden eyes growing dim. "I promise," Ju-ri said quickly. "But you need to tell me more. Who is after you? Where is this child?" Taeho smiled weakly. "You were always the kindest human I met. That's why. I know you will do this right." His breathing slowed. Ju-ri grabbed his hand, feeling helpless. "Don't die, Taeho. Please." "It's okay," he whispered. "My people don't truly die. We change form." As if on cue, Taeho's body began to glow. Ju-ri stepped back in shock as tiny points of light, like fireflies, rose from his skin. His body slowly broke apart into thousands of light particles. They floated in her living room for a moment, swirling in a pattern that almost looked like a face, before fading away. Where Taeho had been, only the crystal disc remained on the couch cushion. Ju-ri stood frozen, the metal ball clutched in her hands, staring at the empty space where her alien friend had been. Outside, the rain continued to fall, washing away any evidence that a spaceship had briefly touched down on the roof of her apartment building. She picked up the crystal disc with shaking fingers. It was cool to the touch and seemed to change colors as she turned it. "Protect the child," she repeated to herself. But how? And from whom? The metal ball in her hand suddenly grew warmer. Ju-ri looked down just as it began to pulse with a stronger light. Something was about to happen. And Ju-ri knew her normal life had just ended. Ju-ri did not sleep that night. She sat at her kitchen table, staring at the metal ball and crystal disc. The events of the night before felt like a dream, but the items in front of her were real. As morning light filled her small apartment, the metal ball began to glow brighter. Suddenly, it floated up from the table and hovered in the air. Ju-ri jumped back, knocking over her chair. The ball opened like a flower, its metal parts folding outward. A beam of light shot out, forming a life-sized image of Tahoe. He looked healthy in the image, his blue skin bright, his golden eyes clear. "Jewelry, if you are seeing this, then I have passed on to the next form," the image said. "I'm sorry for bringing trouble to your door, but I had no one else to trust." Jewelry stared at the image of her friend. "What is happening, Tahoe?" she whispered, even though she knew this was just a recording. "This is my final will and testament," the image continued. "I, Tahoe of House Nuri, declare you, Jewelry of Earth, as my sole heir. To you, I leave all my possessions, my trading company that spans 3 star systems, and all my wealth." Jewelry's mouth fell open. She was a kindergarten teacher who could barely pay her rent. How could she run a space company? Most importantly, Tahoe's image said, "I name you guardian of my son, Menu." A son, Jewelry gasped. Tahoe had never mentioned having a child. "Menu is only 3 months old. He is in a sleep pod on my ship, which is hidden in orbit around Earth. The crystal disk I gave you will activate the ship's transport system. It will bring you aboard when you are ready." The image of Tahoe looked sad now. "Many people want what I discovered, Jewelry. They killed me for it. Now they will look for Minu, because the secret is in his blood. You must protect him." Tahoe's image smiled. "You may wonder why I chose you. In all my travels across the stars, I have never met anyone with a heart as kind as yours. How you care for those children in your class showed me all I needed to know. You will be a good mother to Minu." The image changed to show star maps and strange symbols. "This is all the information you will need to claim your inheritance. My first officer, Doyun, will help you. He is loyal and will teach you our ways." The star maps disappeared, and Tahoe's face filled the projection again. "One last thing, Jewelry. You must leave Earth soon. Those who hunt us will trace my path here. You and Minu will not be safe." The image of Tahoe bowed. "Thank you, my friend. I know this is much to ask, but I have no one else. Take care of my son. Teach him about your world and mine." The projection faded, and the metal ball closed up again, dropping gently onto the table. Jewelry sat in silence. Leave Earth. Become guardian to an alien baby. Run a trading company in space. It was too much. She picked up the crystal disk and turned it over in her hands. Part of her wanted to throw both disk and ball away, to forget everything that had happened. She could call in sick to work today, sleep, and pretend it was all a bad dream. But Tahoe had trusted her, and somewhere up above the clouds, a baby was alone, his father dead. Jewelry took a deep breath and stood up. She packed a small bag with clothes and personal items. She wrote a quick email to her school, saying she had a family emergency and needed to take leave. Then she picked up the crystal disk and held it tightly in her hand. "How does this work?" she asked aloud. As if in answer, the disk began to glow. A voice spoke in her head. "Transport coordinates accepted. Prepare for pickup." Jewelry barely had time to grab her bag before a bright light surrounded her. Her apartment disappeared. Her life as a space mom had begun. The bright light faded. Jewelry blinked, trying to see where she was. She stood in a round room with metal walls. The air smelled clean, like fresh laundry. "Welcome aboard, Hair of Tahoe," a soft voice said from nowhere. Jewelry spun around, looking for who had spoken. "Who's there?" "I am the ship's computer. You may call me Navi." Before Jewelry could respond, a door slid open in the wall. A tall figure walked in. Like Tahoe, this alien had blue skin, but darker, almost navy. His eyes were silver instead of gold. "So you are the human Tahoe chose," the alien said. His voice was deep and he spoke slowly, as if choosing his words carefully. "I am Doyun, first officer of this vessel." Jewelry gripped her bag tighter. "I'm Jewelry. Tahoe. He died last night. In my home." Doyun's face showed no emotion, but he touched his chest with 4 fingers. We felt his passing. His energy has returned to the stars. He studied Jewry closely. You are smaller than I expected. And you're bluer than I expected, Jewry said without thinking. To her surprise, Doyoon's lips twitched in what might have been a smile. Tahoe said you had spirit. He gestured to the door. Come, there is much to show you. Jewry followed him into a hallway with curved walls that glowed softly. They passed rooms with strange machines and alien crew members who stopped to stare at her. Some bowed their heads. Others looked confused or upset. They're not happy to see me, Jewry said. Some questioned why Tahoe chose a human as his heir, Doyoon admitted. But it was his right to choose. And now it is my duty to serve you. They entered a large room with windows that showed the stars. Earth was a blue and white ball below them. Jewry gasped at the sight. This is the command center, Doyoon explained. From here, we control the ship and manage Tahoe's trading business. Jewry turned away from the amazing view. Doyoon, Tahoe mentioned a baby, his son. Where is he? Doyoon's face softened. Yes, young Mainu. This way. He led her to another room. In the center was a clear tube floating in the air. Inside the tube, curled up as if asleep, was a tiny blue baby. He looked mostly human, except for his color and his small hands that had only 4 fingers. He is in stasis sleep, Doyoon explained. Safe until this guardian claims him. How do I claim him? Jewry asked. Place your hand on the tube. The ship will read your DNA, and Tahoe's will. With shaking hands, Jewry reached out and touched the clear surface. It was warm. Lights began to flash around the tube. DNA verified. Navy's voice announced. Guardian status confirmed. Releasing stasis lock. The tube opened like a flower, just as the metal ball had done. The baby inside took a deep breath and opened his eyes. They were golden, just like Tahoe's. The baby looked at Jewry and made a soft cooing sound. Then he reached up with his small blue hands. He wants you to hold him, Doyoon said, sounding surprised. Carefully, Jewry lifted the baby. He was lighter than she expected and very warm. When she held him against her chest, he made a happy gurgling noise. Hello, Mainu, she whispered. I'm Jewry. Your dad asked me to take care of you. The baby touched her face with curious fingers. Then something strange happened. In her mind, Jewry felt a warm feeling, like sunshine. It wasn't her own feeling. It was coming from Mainu. She looked at Doyoon in shock. Did he just? Is he in my head? Doyoon nodded. His people have mind-touch abilities from birth. He is connecting with you. That's impossible, Jewry said, even as she felt another wave of warmth from the baby. Many things that seem impossible on Earth are common in the wider galaxy, Doyoon said. You will learn. Mainu made another happy sound and snuggled against Jewry's neck. Despite everything, the danger, the strangeness, the huge responsibility, Jewry felt herself smile. We have much to discuss, Doyoon said. The Galactic Council will want to meet you, and there are Tahoe's enemies to consider. But Jewry barely heard him. She was looking into Mainu's golden eyes and feeling, somehow, that this was exactly where she was meant to be. 3 days passed on the ship. Jewry learned to feed Mainu's special blue milk and how to change his diaper, which changed color based on his health. The baby rarely cried and liked to touch Jewry's face, sending her happy feelings through his mind touch. On the 4th day, Doyoon came to her room looking worried. The Galactic Council has sent representatives, he said. They are docking now. What do they want? Jewry asked, holding Mainu close. To meet Tahoe's heir, they did not expect a human. Doyoon handed her a silver robe. Wear this. It shows your status. Jewry put on the robe over her Earth clothes. It was too long, and she had to roll up the sleeves. Will they try to take Mainu from me? She asked. Doyoon's face was serious. They might. But Tahoe's will is legal and binding. I will stand with you. They walked to a large meeting room. 5 aliens waited there. 4 looked like Tahoe's people, with blue skin in different shades. The 5th was orange with 3 eyes. The tallest blue alien stepped forward. I am Counselor Hyunwoo of the Galactic Corps. We came as soon as we heard of Tahoe's passing. His eyes narrowed when he saw Juri. What is this? Where is Tahoe's hair? This is Juri of Earth, Do-yoon said. Tahoe named her his heir and guardian to his son. Hyunwoo's face showed shock. A human. Impossible. Humans are not even part of the Galactic Alliance. They are a primitive species. Juri felt anger rising, but kept her voice calm. Tahoe was my friend. He trusted me to raise his child and manage his business. The orange alien laughed, a strange bubbling sound. A human could not possibly understand our technology or trade laws. This is absurd. Tahoe's choice was legal, Do-yoon insisted. The ship's computer has verified the will. Hyunwoo stepped closer to Juri and looked at Minu in her arms. The child is of noble blood from the core worlds. He cannot be raised by this. Minu made an unhappy noise and buried his face in Juri's neck. See, said Hyunwoo. The child is distressed in her care. No, Juri said firmly. He's upset by your tone and the way you're looking at me. He can feel emotions, remember? This made Hyunwoo step back. You know of the mind touch. I know Minu better than you do, Juri said. Tahoe wanted me to be his guardian. I promised I would protect him. Hyunwoo turned to the other council members. They spoke in a language Juri couldn't understand. Their voices grew louder, like they were arguing. Finally, Hyunwoo turned back. We need time to discuss this unusual situation. In the meantime, I insist the child be examined by our doctors. And you, human, will need to prove you can handle Tahoe's business affairs. I'm learning, Juri said. Do-yoon is teaching me. Are you aware that Tahoe was not just a trader? Asked a female blue alien. He was a noble from the core worlds on a special mission. Juri looked at Do-yoon in surprise. He nodded slowly. Tahoe was studying frontier worlds like Earth, Do-yoon explained. His trading company was part of his cover. His real work was to prepare Earth for eventual contact with the Galactic Alliance. And now all his work, his wealth, and his only child are in the hands of someone who didn't even know this basic fact. Hyunwoo said with disgust. Juri felt her cheeks grow hot. I may not know everything yet, but I know Tahoe believed in me. I won't let him down. We shall see, Hyunwoo said. The council will reconvene in 3 days. Be prepared to defend your position as guardian and heir, or we will be forced to make other arrangements. As the council members left, Juri looked down at Minu. The baby's golden eyes stared back at her with complete trust. What have I gotten myself into? She whispered. Minu reached up and touched her cheek. A feeling of comfort flowed from his fingers into her mind. Somehow, they would face this together. After the Galactic Council left, Juri knew she had to learn fast. She had just 3 days to prove she could handle being Minu's guardian and running Tahoe's business. We need to start right away, Do-yoon said. There is much to learn. Juri nodded, adjusting Minu in her arms. Where do we begin? First, let me show you what Tahoe's company really does. Do-yoon took her to a large room filled with strange objects. Some looked like art, others like machines. All were beautiful and clearly not from Earth. These are artifacts from different worlds, Do-yoon explained. Tahoe's company finds rare items and sells them to collectors in museums across the galaxy. Juri looked at a glowing crystal flower, like space antiques. Yes, and sometimes new technology from isolated planets. Do-yoon pointed to a shelf of small devices. These are from Earth. Tahoe was very interested in human creativity. Simple things like phones and music players, Juri asked, surprised. To other worlds, Earth technology is unique. The way humans solve problems is different from other species. For the next 2 days, Ju-Ray studied hard. She learned about star maps, trade routes, and alien currencies. At night, she cared for Minu, who grew more attached to her each day. On the evening of the second day, something strange happened. As Ju-Ray rocked Minu to sleep, the baby touched her forehead. Suddenly, images filled her mind, but they weren't her memories. She saw planets she'd never visited, strange buildings with tall spires, and a man's face. Taiho, but younger, looking worried as he hid something in his coat. Ju-Ray gasped and pulled back. Minu was already asleep, his small blue face peaceful. "Did you just show me your father's memories?" she whispered. The next morning, she told Do-Yun what happened. "It is rare, but possible," he said. "Minu's mind touch is strong. He may be sharing Taho's memories that were passed to him before birth. I saw Taho hiding something." He looked afraid. Do-Yun's silver eyes widened. "This confirms what I suspected. Taho found something important before he died. Something dangerous enough to make him flee to Earth. What was it? I don't know, but others want it badly. I believe that's why he was killed." Ju-Ray held Minu closer. "And they might think his son knows where it is." Yes, through these memory transfers, Minu might indeed know. That afternoon, Do-Yun taught Ju-Ray about the ship's systems. He showed her how to read alien writing and use the computer. "You are learning quickly," he said, sounding impressed. "I'm a teacher," Ju-Ray reminded him. "Learning new things is part of my job. Teaching children and running a galactic trading company are very different." Ju-Ray smiled. "Not as different as you might think. Both need patience, clear rules, and knowing when to be firm." That night, Minu showed her more memories. This time, she saw Taho in a dark cave, finding a small device that glowed with blue light. He looked excited but scared. In the morning, Ju-Ray asked Do-Yun about it. "I believe Taho discovered ancient technology," Do-Yun said quietly. "Something valuable and powerful. He told no one what it was, not even me. And now people think Minu has this information in his head," Ju-Ray said. "Through these memory transfers." "Yes, that's why your role as guardian is so important." Do-Yun looked at her seriously. "And why some will try to take him from you." On the third day, hours before the council would return, Ju-Ray sat in Taho's old office. She had learned so much, but was it enough? Minu played on a blanket nearby, making toys float with his mind touch. "What did your dad find, little one?" she asked softly. "And why did he choose me to protect you?" Minu looked up at her with his golden eyes. He reached out with his mind, sending her a feeling of complete trust and safety. In that moment, Ju-Ray understood. Taho hadn't chosen her for her knowledge of space or business. He had chosen her because she would love Minu as her own, no matter what dangers came. And that was exactly what his enemies wouldn't expect. The Galactic Council meeting room was full. Ju-Ray sat at a large round table with Minu sleeping in her arms. Do-Yun stood behind her chair. Across from them sat Councillor Hyunwoo and the other council members. "We will now hear the case of human Ju-Ray as guardian of Minu and heir to Taho's estate," Hyunwoo announced. Just as he finished speaking, the door opened. A tall, thin alien with pale blue skin and cold eyes walked in. He wore expensive-looking clothes with shiny metal parts. "Hyunwoo," Do-Yun whispered to Ju-Ray. "Taho's business rival. Be careful." "I hope I'm not late," Hyunwoo said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "When I heard that Taho left everything to a human, I had to see for myself." "You were not invited to this meeting," Hyunwoo said. "As the second largest trader in this sector, I have a right to be here," Hyunwoo replied, taking a seat. "Especially if Taho's trade routes are being handed to this creature." He looked at Ju-Ray like she was dirt. Ju-Ray felt anger rising, but kept her face calm. 5 years of handling difficult parents at school had taught her not to show when she was upset. "Let us begin," Hyunwoo said. Human Juri, explain why you should be allowed to raise a core world child and run a galactic business. Before Juri could answer, Kyuwoo laughed. Yes, tell us how a primitive being from a planet that hasn't even achieved simple interstellar travel can possibly understand galactic trade. Juri took a deep breath. I may not know everything about space yet, but I know children. I'm a teacher. I help small humans grow and learn every day. Menu needs love and safety more than anything else right now. Touching, Kyuwoo said. But Tahoe's business employs thousands across 3 star systems. What do you know about that? I'm learning, Juri said. And I have good help. She nodded toward Doyoon. The law is clear, Doyoon added. Tahoe's will is legal and binding. Kyuwoo leaned forward. But is it wise? Humans are known for their greed and violence. Look at their history. Wars, pollution, cruelty. Is this who should raise a noble child? Someone from a species that can't even live peacefully on their own planet. Juri felt Menu stir in her arms. His eyes opened and he looked at Kyuwoo. Then he started to cry. See, Hyunwoo said. The child is distressed in her care. No, Juri said, gently rocking Menu. He's upset by the negative emotions in this room. She looked directly at Kyuwoo. Especially yours. Kyuwoo's eyes narrowed. What would you know of his feelings? Menu shares his feelings with me, Juri said. We have a bond. This made the council members whisper among themselves. The mind touch is sacred, one of them said. If the child has bonded with her. A trick, Kyuwoo snapped. Humans have no psychic abilities. But Menu does, Juri said. She looked down at the baby. Show them, little one. Menu reached up with his small blue hand and touched Juri's cheek. The room grew quiet as a soft golden glow spread from his fingers to her face. He is sharing with her, Hyunwoo said, sounding surprised. I have a question, Juri said, feeling braver. Why is Kyuwoo so interested in Tahoe's business and in Menu? Kyuwoo's face showed anger for a second before he controlled it. Simple business interest. Tahoe's trade routes would fit well with mine. Or maybe you're looking for what Tahoe found before he died, Juri said. The thing that made someone kill him. The room went very quiet. Kyuwoo stood up suddenly. This is absurd. I will not sit here and be accused by a primitive creature. He pointed at Juri. This human knows nothing of our ways. Giving her control of Tahoe's assets is dangerous and foolish. Yet Tahoe chose her, Doyoon said calmly. Tahoe was a fool, Kyuwoo spat. At these words, Menu began to cry louder. The lights in the room flickered, and a cup on the table cracked. Everyone stared at the baby in shock. His powers are strong, Hyunwoo whispered. Stronger than normal for his age. Juri held Menu close, whispering to him until he calmed down. The room was silent, watching her soothe the powerful child with only soft words and gentle touches. Finally, Hyunwoo spoke. We will consider all we have seen today. The council will make its decision tomorrow. As everyone left the room, Kyuwoo passed by Juri. This isn't over, human, he said quietly. That child holds something valuable, and I will have it. Juri met his cold eyes without flinching. You'll have to go through me first. That night, Juri could not sleep. She paced in her room, thinking about Kyuwoo's threat. Minu slept peacefully in a floating crib that gently rocked on its own. What did your father find that was worth killing for? She whispered, looking at the baby's small blue face. Suddenly, the ship's computer spoke. Message from Counselor Hyunwoo. Private channel. Juri was surprised. Accept message. A screen appeared on the wall. Hyunwoo's face looked serious. Human Juri, we must speak in private. Things are not as they seem. What do you mean? Juri asked. Not over communications. Meet me in the ship's garden level in 1 hour. Come alone. The screen went dark. Juri frowned. Should she trust Hyunwoo? She decided to ask for help. Doyun, she called through the ship's system. Can you come to my room? When Doyun arrived, she told him about Hyunwoo's message. It could be a trap, Doyun said, but Hyunwoo is not known to break council rules. I will go with you, but stay hidden. An hour later, Ju-rai entered the garden level with Minyu in her arms. It was a beautiful place with plants from many worlds growing together. In the center stood Hyunwoo, alone. Thank you for coming, he said. I apologize for my harsh words earlier. The council must appear neutral in public. What's this about? Ju-rai asked. Taiho was my friend, Hyunwoo said. We worked together on a secret project. Before he died, he sent me a message saying he had found it. Found what? The Ancients' wormhole technology. Hyunwoo's voice was quiet but excited. Do you understand what this means? Right now, ships must travel for weeks or months between star systems. With wormhole technology, the same journey would take seconds. Ju-rai's eyes widened. That would change everything. Yes, trade, travel, communication, all would be transformed. But in the wrong hands, it could also be a powerful weapon. You think Hyunwoo killed Taiho for this technology? Hyunwoo nodded. Hyunwoo has connections to groups that would use it for conquest. Taiho knew this. That's why he hid the coordinates to the technology somewhere safe. Hyunwoo looked at Minyu. Inside his son's genetic code. Ju-rai held Minyu tighter. In his DNA. How is that possible? Taiho's people can store information in living cells. It's an ancient practice used for their most precious secrets. Now everything made sense. Why Taiho fled to Earth. Why he chose Ju-rai as guardian. Why Hyunwoo wanted Minyu. But why me? Ju-rai asked. I'm just a kindergarten teacher. That's exactly why, said a new voice. Doyun stepped out from behind a large plant. Forgive me for listening, but I needed to be sure Hyunwoo was honest. Hyunwoo did not seem surprised to see Doyun. Tell her, first officer. Taiho studied many species, Doyun explained. He found humans fascinating because of one rare quality, deep compassion for those not of their kind. Many species care only for their own, Hyunwoo added. But humans, some humans, can love without boundaries, even a blue alien child. Taiho saw how you treated the children in your care, Doyun said. All of them, not just the ones like you. He saw kindness without self-interest. He believed that quality was essential for anyone guarding such powerful technology. Hyunwoo said, someone who would not use it for personal gain or power. Ju-rai looked down at Minyu. The baby was awake now, his golden eyes watching her face. She felt a gentle touch in her mind. Trust, safety, love. So Minyu carries the secret location of this technology in his DNA, Ju-rai said slowly. And Hyunwoo knows this. Yes, said Hyunwoo. The council will support your guardianship publicly tomorrow, but you must still be careful. Hyunwoo will not give up easily. What should I do? Ju-rai asked. Keep Minyu safe until he is old enough to understand his role, Hyunwoo said. The information in his DNA will unlock naturally when he matures. In the meantime, Doyun added, learn to run Taiho's business. It will give you resources and protection. Ju-rai nodded. The weight of responsibility felt heavy, but when she looked at Minyu's trusting face, she knew she would do whatever it took to keep him safe. I won't let Taiho down, she said. Or you, little one. Minyu smiled at her, his first real smile. In that moment, Ju-rai knew she was exactly where she was meant to be, guardian of a special child and a technology that could change the galaxy forever. The next morning, the Galactic Council announced their decision. Ju-rai would remain Minyu's guardian and control Taiho's business. Hyunwoo stormed out of the meeting room, his face dark with anger. We should be careful, Doyun said as they walked back to their rooms. Hyunwoo is not one to give up easily. I'll stay with Minyu at all times, Ju-rai promised. For the next week, Ju-rai learned more about running Taiho's company. She joined video meetings with alien business partners, Many were surprised to see a human, but Doyun helped her understand alien customs and trade rules. One morning, Counselor Hyunwoo called. "The council needs to see you today. It's urgent." "Is something wrong?" Juri asked. "Just come quickly. Bring the child." The call ended. Juri felt uneasy. "Doyun, can you come with me to this meeting?" "I must check on a shipment first," Doyun said, "but I will join you soon." Juri took Menu and went to the council chambers. The large room was empty except for Hyunwoo, who stood near the window. "Where is everyone else?" Juri asked. Hyunwoo turned, but his face looked wrong. A second later, the image of Hyunwoo flickered and disappeared. In his place stood Kuwoo, holding a small device. "Hologram projector," he said with a cold smile. "Useful for luring naive humans into traps." Two large aliens stepped out from behind pillars, blocking the exit. "What do you want?" Juri asked, holding Menu tight. "You know what I want," Kuwoo said. "The child and the coordinates he carries." "You killed Tahoe," Juri said. "His own fault. He should have shared his discovery." Kuwoo stepped closer. "Now give me the baby. I have a lab ready to extract the information from his cells." "That would hurt him," Juri said, backing away. "A small price for such valuable technology." Kuwoo's eyes were cold. "My clients will pay fortunes for control of instant space travel." "You'd start a war," Juri said. "That's why Tahoe hid it." "Enough talk." Kuwoo nodded to his men. "Take the child." As the men moved forward, Juri thought fast. 5 years of handling kindergarten emergencies had taught her to stay calm under pressure. She pressed her communication badge. "Computer, activate Protocol Blue. Authorization Juri Alpha." The ship's computer responded immediately. "Protocol Blue activated. Emergency transport initiated." "What?" Kuwoo lunged forward, but bright light already surrounded Juri and Minu. They appeared in the ship's control room. Juri had created this emergency escape plan with Doyun, just in case. "Alert all crew," she told the computer. Kuwoo has infiltrated the ship, locked down all sections. Alarms sounded throughout the ship. Juri ran to the communication panel. "Doyun, where are you?" "Cargo bay," his voice answered. "What's happening?" Kuwoo tried to take Minu. "He tricked me with a fake message from Hyunwoo." "Stay where you are," Doyun said. "I'm coming with security." But before Doyun could reach her, the door to the control room slid open. Kuwoo stood there, holding a weapon. "Emergency transport works both ways," he said. "My men are handling your crew. Now, the child." Juri stepped back, placing Minu behind her on a chair. "You'll have to go through me first." "With pleasure." Kuwoo raised his weapon. Suddenly, Minu began to cry. The sound was different than before, louder, almost musical. As he cried, the lights in the room flickered, and Kuwoo's weapon sparked in his hand. "What is this?" Kuwoo dropped the smoking weapon. "His powers," Juri said, amazed. "They're growing." Kuwoo looked afraid for the first time. "Stop him. I don't think he likes you threatening his mom," Juri said. The term mom made something shift in her heart. Yes, she was Minu's mom now. Not just his guardian, his mother. Minu's cry grew louder, and all the electronic systems around Kuwoo began to fail. His communication device exploded in his pocket, making him yell in pain. The door slid open again, and Doyun rushed in with security officers. They quickly grabbed Kuwoo. "Are you hurt?" Doyun asked Juri. "We're fine," she said, picking up Minu, whose crying stopped immediately. Thanks to Minu. Kuwoo struggled against the guards. "This isn't over. The technology is too valuable." Juri looked at him calmly. "You're right. It is valuable. That's why it needs the right guardian." As Kuwoo was taken away, Juri held Minu close. The baby looked up at her with golden eyes full of trust. "Don't worry," she whispered. "Mom's got you." 3 months passed after Kuu's attack. The Galactic Council put him on trial for Tahoe's murder and the attempted kidnapping of Minu. He was found guilty and sent to a prison planet far from Earth. On a sunny morning, Juri stood on the observation deck of Tahoe's ship, her ship now, looking down at the blue-green planet below. Earth looks so small from up here, she said to Minu, who sat in her lap. The baby had grown. His blue skin had darkened to a deeper shade, and his golden eyes were more alert. He could now float small toys with his mind, and shared happy feelings with Juri daily. "Are you ready to go home?" she asked him. Minu touched her face, sending her a feeling of curiosity mixed with excitement. "I think that's a yes," Juri laughed. Doyoon entered the room. "The shuttle is ready. The council representatives are waiting to meet you at the landing site." Today was important. For the first time, Earth would officially meet representatives from the Galactic Alliance, and Juri would be the one to introduce them. "Is everything ready on Earth?" she asked. "Yes, your government has prepared as we instructed. Only a small group will know the truth for now." Juri nodded. Earth wasn't ready for full contact yet. It would be a slow process, starting with scientific and cultural exchanges. Tahoe's company, now hers, would help bridge the gap between worlds. "And my apartment?" she asked. "Cleaned and ready," Doyoon said, "though we added some security features." Juri smiled. She would live on Earth again, raising Minu between two worlds. He would learn both human and alien ways. The shuttle ride to Earth was smooth. They landed in a remote area where a small group of officials waited. Juri recognized the South Korean president among them. Councillor Hyunwoo stepped forward from the alien group. "Shall we begin the first official meeting between Earth and the Galactic Alliance?" Juri nodded. "Yes, though I think informal introductions might be better first." This was something she had learned as a teacher. People connect better when things aren't too formal. To everyone's surprise, she walked to each person, human and alien alike, and introduced them by name, adding a personal comment about each one. The stiff meeting quickly became friendlier. Later, after agreements were signed and plans made, Hyunwoo spoke to Juri privately. "You continue to surprise us," he said. "Your human approach to diplomacy is refreshing." "Just treating people like people," Juri said, bouncing Minu gently in her arms, "whether they have blue skin or not." "The council has officially recognized your position as Tahoe's heir and Minu's mother," Hyunwoo said. "All legal challenges have been dismissed. The fortune and company are truly yours now." "I never wanted a fortune," Juri said. "I just want Minu to be safe." "Which is exactly why Tahoe chose wisely," Hyunwoo said. "We have also sealed all records about the wormhole technology. No one will know Minu carries those coordinates until he is grown and ready." That evening, Juri walked into her old apartment. It looked the same, yet everything had changed. She placed Minu in a crib that Doyoon's crew had set up, a special one that monitored his alien biology and floated gently when he cried. She touched a small panel on the wall, and a hidden screen appeared. On it, she could see Tahoe's ship orbiting Earth, cloaked from human detection. Doyoon and a trusted crew would remain there, helping her run the company and protecting Earth's new connection to the stars. Minu made a happy noise from his crib. Juri went to him and picked him up. He immediately touched her face, sharing a feeling of home and safety. "Yes, we're home," she whispered. "Both of us." She walked to the window and pointed to the night sky. "Out there is your father's world, and down here is mine. You will know both." Minu's small blue hand reached toward the stars. "One day, you'll help connect our worlds," Juri said. "But for now, you just need to grow up safe and happy." In her mind, she silently thanked Tahoe for trusting her with his greatest treasures, his fortune, his discovery, and most of all, his son, a human mom, and an alien baby, starting a journey that would change two worlds forever.